All right, welcome back to the Wealth Mindset, where we make money matter simple. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, we got some amazing tips for you. Today, I have Cedric Blake Jr. And Cedric is in the airline industry. He's a flight attendant. He's been married about 11 years. He has 4 amazing kids. And he's been in the airline industry since 2006. So that's about 18 years or so. He started up as an agent, customer service, and then became a manager, and then became a flight attendant. And he's been in financial services for about 5 years. And he has been crushing it. In fact, he's on his way to become a millionaire. So I'm so happy to talk to you. Welcome to the podcast, Cedric. How are you doing today?
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, Carrie. I'm doing awesome. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Cedric, I just wanted to share a little bit about yourself, sort of your background and just your family name, just to kind of introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yep, absolutely. So I was born and raised in San Francisco. Grew up there, and especially like in an inner city, inside of San Francisco. We kind of were struggling. My mom, she moved us in with her mom, right, which is my grandmother. And we were living with all of our cousins at the time. And, for us, it was fun, right? We're young. We had to go play all the time. We go outside and things like that. Went to every single school in San Francisco, from elementary all the way to college. I went to City, SF State, just for a little bit, maybe about a year or so. And that's when I got into the airline industry when I was 18 years old. So right out of high school, it was a great experience for me. Just being able to fly and have those benefits. So I learned that early on, being able to travel to the places I wanted to go to. I met my wife, I believe it was in 2011. And since then, just been rocking. We have 4 beautiful children. Been married 11 years, like you mentioned. And we actually met in church too. So I met my wife in church, proposed to her in church, and got married in the church. And I believe it was in 2019, that's when I decided to get into the financial industry as well. It started as a side gig, right? Quote, air quotes. Started as a side gig for me until I really started making more money than my full-time job. So I really started investing my time into that. It was just myself that was in the industry first. And then my wife, seeing the growth, decided to get in. And with us two together, we took off for sure.
Wow, that's an amazing story, Cedric. Let me ask you something. Was it challenging to you to get started? Because I know for me it was a little bit challenging because finances was not my thing. Was it challenging for you to start?
Um, yes and no. Yes, because there was a lot of things I didn't know about the industry. There was a lot
Right.
of things that I assumed, right? Immediately when I hear the financial industry, I said, well, I don't have a background in finance. So I don't think I would do well. So that was just my assumption. But it wasn't challenging at the same time because I'm an action person. Like once I
Wow.
understand the concept of something, I'm going for it. Right. I'm definitely going for it. So yes and no in that aspect.
What was your biggest obstacle in starting?
The biggest obstacle um was myself, right? Was myself.
Mm.
I felt like I was battling me. And what I mean is I'm very competitive as well. So when I got into the industry, I was a client first. There was a friend of mine that approached me with the opportunity. And at the time, my wife and I, we were struggling financially. And we just saw it as like you're trying to grow your business and your opportunity. I don't think you're really trying to help me. Okay. So
Gotcha.
I was like, if you're trying to help me, I need cash. Like I need actual money to get out of my situation. And after a while, we got deeper to this financial hole. My wife receives a phone call from her uncle, who she never met. Okay, who she
Mhm.
never met on her dad's side. He goes, "Hey, I'm Uncle Mike. Just letting you know that our sister passed away. Your dad and I, our
Wow.
sister passed away, and our parents many years ago set up a trust before they passed away, And it was so detailed. It says that if they don't have children, it goes to their nephews and nieces, and you came up in the system. And
Wow.
so it was a blessing that we received that money at that time, but it was a light bulb moment for me. And this is how we got into the industry as a client first. Okay, being a client and then just going into the business side of it, knowing that like I'm super competitive. What it did for me was I was in my own head as far as getting started. Uh, but my mentor at the time kind of pushed me. She was like, "Hey, I'm so exhausted," like sarcastically. "Hey, I'm so exhausted of all of the referrals you're sending me." And because I didn't send her no one at all. And that moment just sparked the interest of like, okay, all right, watch, you'll see. I'm gonna fill up your whole calendar.
So you took it as a challenge.
Yep.
Wow. So the first thing that you got was it like a living trust and wills, or what was the
First thing
first?
I got, it was a life insurance
Oh, you got
policy.
life insurance. Oh, because you need to
Yep.
protect yourself and your family. If something
Yep.
happened to you, you make sure your kids are covered. Yeah, and I think
Yep.
a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people should do that, but not a lot of people do that, and that's why we have a lot of GoFundMe, people trying to get a funeral, but we have families being left devastated.
True.
Um, I had another question. How do you balance work and side hustle? Because I know you have to travel a lot. Like, you're always crazy, I think, flying long hours and coming back. Like, how do you balance that? And then you have 4 kids, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And your wife's a flight attendant too. How do you guys balance that?
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like we balance that with um really understanding both businesses, right? Both companies. Being a flight attendant, I'm there to serve the people, right? On the
Right.
plane. I'm there to help their need, if they wanted something this, I can help them with that. But also as a flight attendant, what a lot of people overlook is that we're there for their safety as well. We saw a lot of medical situations that occurred on a plane where we had to jump in, right? So our training has to come in, but understanding like how what it looks like to be a flight attendant and in our business, they actually go hand in hand, right?
Wow.
Because in the financial business, it's a people business.
It is.
As a flight attendant, guess what? I'm serving people. And so the way I looked at it is, it's not that I'm going out purposely looking for someone, right? But it's as I go. Because I'm a flight attendant, I'm in a trusted position. So passengers, they would tend to talk to me rather than a random person that's on a plane, right? Because
It
I'm in a suit, I got my wings. So to balance it is I just use it both, right? So I'm licensed in 15 states right now because I'm a flight attendant, right? So
that's super cool. Let me talk about sacrifices. Did you have to make a lot of sacrifices socially and in your personal life, to maintain both?
absolutely. Um, it was really disassociation
Hmm.
first for the from those who are not in either industry, right? So I grew up in San Francisco, um, pretty tough area. One point was a product of my environment. But I've always had goals, I've always had dreams. I've always believed that I can do better than where I currently was. But a lot of my friends who I grew up with didn't believe the same thing. Okay, so we had disagreements, and I knew that I had to disassociate myself even just to get in the industry, the financial industry, but then as a flight attendant. So now I have friends who are flight attendants or that work for the airline, and I have friends and family that are in my business, and we just grow together there.
I have some background noise here. Um, Let me ask about your skills and learning. Did any of your skills from your flight attendant role help you in your side hustle?
I believe so. I feel like the first skill that I learned as a flight attendant was awareness, which ties into emotional intelligence. As flight attendants, you're looking at people, you're smiling, conversing with them, but you're really looking at engaging to see like, okay, I see this person stumbled on a plane. Potentially, he can be intoxicated, right? We see this young lady. She seems afraid, but she's also with this elderly man that that seems like they're
Right.
not really together, right? This can be some kind of trafficking thing. So I feel like that awareness also helps me to focus and listen more when it comes to the financial business, right? Because I believe that listening is the biggest key in our financial industry, right? Being able to ask the right questions and then just listen. So being aware of what they don't have, right? What they do have and what they need. So it definitely has helped me in those ways.
Mm, mm. Let me ask you about your challenges in terms that might be unique to your role as a flight attendant and the challenges that exist as a flight attendant and as in financial services. Because I know being in the area you're in, uh, I mean, you get to travel all across the nation, but is there any unique challenges in having clients all across these states?
Definitely. I think the biggest challenge for me now is being on the plane, like literally. Sometimes the plane doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I can't communicate with either a client or a business partner. Usually in the morning, that's when I'll call like our providers, right? I'll call the providers and just kind of check in on pending, policies and things like that. And so that's the hardest challenge is that when I receive a notification of, hey, we need you to sign. And once you sign, it goes to the client and knowing that I can't do it for the next 4 or 5 hours.
Mm.
The biggest challenge.
All right. What? Tell me some advantages of travel perks, both as a flight attendant and as any financial services, because I know that there are a lot of perks for flight attendants, but like combining the two, what would that look like? Because I know we have to travel because we have different conferences being in financial services that we can't attend. I know you have an advantage because you can take flight, but tell me a little bit more about that, the perks that
Yeah.
you get.
So the perks, and I'll be honest, the perks, that's really the reason why I'm there. And when I was in management, I was going to leave the company. And my wife was saying, hey, you ever thought about being a flight attendant? And I was like, never. I would never be a flight attendant. Right? And I was like, nah, never. I never thought about it. But now I'm here. The flexibility. So before I became a flight attendant, I asked multiple people, hey, how is it? What can you tell me about it? So I asked people that have families and I've asked people that are single. And they both said the time, right? Being a flight attendant, you can actually control your time, right? Your freedom. And I was like, how? They was like, well, you have thousands of people in your base, right? Where you start off at in your base, you have thousands of people that you can trade your trips to. We have like a system where we could literally switch our days. If I'm scheduled to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can move that to Saturday, things like that. So the flexibility that we have is beyond anything I've ever experienced. But when it comes to traveling, we fly free. Okay, so that's probably the biggest benefit of why I'm there. But then also, if I'm working the flight, I could potentially choose because of my seniority. I can say, hey, you know what? This month, I'm only going to work Hawaii flights. So, what does that look like? I get on the plane, I make the people happy, we land, and then they put us in a nice resort, right? That the company is paying for. We have discounts, right? 30 to 50% discounts at
Wow.
these resorts right on the water. So those are great perks. But also when it comes to my business, I feel like these perks are really great. These last 3 months, we've been on a go with our business.
I know.
Okay.
I've been seeing you figure. I've been seeing you guys up there pretty regularly, and
Yep.
you guys have been killing it.
We've been we
And thanks so much for coming on. I do want to ask you about networking and community because I do see that. I think that as you're a flight attendant, you do get to meet a lot of people, and in a more relaxed environment. I'm a nurse, so I meet people in probably not the best environment, and different people are sick, and you do get to meet a lot of people, but not necessarily the best. And
Yep.
people could be grumpy traveling. But in terms of networking and community, how do you like? I think as a nurse, you see someone, you could kind of tell a little bit about their health and different things. But I see as a flight attendant, you can kind of tell, you know, people openness, their friendliness, a lot of different things just by their disposition because you see so many people. How will that help you with your networking community, meeting people like other entrepreneurs and stuff? How has that been?
Yep. So that's been one of the best parts too in our business. Because I'll be honest with you, I have no desire to build a career as a flight attendant.
Okay,
Every day I'm thinking about leaving, right? But the only thing that's really keeping me there, it's not even in the flight benefits because guess what? In our financial business, we fly all the time as well, right? We had a qualifying trip in Puerto Vallarta, right? We had a retreat in Lake
nice.
Tahoe, right? All of these places. And so, but the thing is, when it comes to a flight attendant, I have no desire to like build my career there, but it's the people that I meet there. It's the people
Oh,
that I meet when
gotcha.
I'm flying. So I've met business owners, I've met CEOs of different companies. You meet so many people in that industry, and I feel like that's been the best part that has helped me in my business.
Wow. Could you share like an example? Don't mention any names or anything
Yep,
that could disclose the
absolutely.
person, but could you share like a story of something that like this you're so glad that you met this person? Could you
Definitely.
share about that?
Yep. So I'll share two. I have a few stories actually. So one story is when I was sitting on the jump seat in the front of the plane.
Right.
Typically, you have a view of the first few rows right in front of us,
Right.
and we're like face to face. And this guy, he was in the first row, and he had all of these $100 bills, right? He was putting them in the envelope. He's like writing letters. And I was like, what is this guy up to? So I'm asking the other flight attendant, I'm like, what do you think he does, like for a living, right? And so we're just watching him, and he's putting all of these $100 bills in the envelope. And I had a book that I was reading. It's called The Financial Pocket Knife. Great book, by the way. If you guys hear that, Financial Pocket Knife, I highly recommend that book. So I had it in my hand, and I told the flight attendant, I said, if I purposely drop this book in front of him, like towards him, maybe I can start a conversation. And and that would jumpstart our convo. Then I can start asking questions. She was like, "You think that'll work?" I said, "I think so." So I dropped the book, and he goes to like reach for it. He picks up the book, he looks at it, he's like, "Oh, the Financial Pocket Knife. It seemed like a great read. What is it about?" And then so I briefly told him, but that allowed us to be open now. And I said, "Hey, I said, you got to be careful on the plane with all that money there, sir." And I was like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what do you do? I see that you're putting up money in the envelopes. He was like, well, I'm a CEO of one of our companies, and I'm sending them. This was like last year, December. He was like, I'm sending them each $100, but then also like a gift card to like a restaurant, just thanking them for their hard work and things like that. I said, wow, like I wish I can have a manager, or somebody who loves us that way, things like that. So we exchanged numbers, right? We exchanged numbers, and my thing was, it's not what I can do for you, right?
Hmm.
Our conversation was like, man, how can you help me? Like, I like your mannerisms. I like how you're treating your people. Like, you can teach me some things. And so he
Gotcha.
really appreciated that. And we built a relationship from there. And he also became a client. Um,
Nice.
and another one, we were actually on an overnight, and the basketball game was on, the All-Star game. So you had the West and the East, just random. I was just sitting there, and the guy was like, "Hey, who are you going for?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going for the West." He was like, "You know, a loser." So he kind of like made a bet on the game, and I was like, "All right, man." So we kind of was joking around. The West won, and he gets to talking, and he started talking about investments. He started talking about money and his just repositioning like his funds and trying to find places on where he can put his money. And he's like, "What do you do?" And I briefly you just explained. I said, "We help people." I said, "We show people how to grow their money risk free and tax free." And he was like, "It's interesting." He says, "Tell me more." And I was like, "Well, boom, 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 boom." Right? I gave him a little bit. He says, "Who are you?"
I think knowledge is power. People don't know. I think, I mean, sorry if I cut you off, but I
Oh, no
know
worries.
one of the things that attracted me was, there's strategies of the wealthy that you don't know. So there's this mystery, and it's not really a mystery. The information out there that people don't, one, they don't learn about it. Two, because it does take a little bit of work, but then
Yeah,
they don't apply it. And I think that's the critical thing. How do you bridge that gap in terms of
yeah,
like, you're meeting your clients and stuff. They might be interested, but then they don't really want to apply it really. Like how do you because you're a very persuasive person,
hmm
right? And I know
yep,
you probably with the girls, you probably bat the eyes. I know you could get them to
yeah,
talk to you, but you're generally a very persuasive person.
yep.
How do you accomplish that in terms of persuading people like to close a deal? Like you because it is for their benefit that you're helping them. You're teaching them strategy. Like the wealthy people, they do this to do this. They they're not a lot of them are not working for anybody, and
Yep,
they're collecting money. So then they don't really pay tax because their money is in tax free
yep,
investments. And
yep,
people like say, hey, taxi wealthy, whatever. But then are they working
yeah,
to own business, and they're structured in such a way to get tax-free money? So, but
yep,
how do you bridge
definitely.
that? Sorry, I know I
I
went
feel
on
like,
there.
yeah, so for me, it really starts with allowing how can you get them to trust you, right?
Okay.
How can you get them to trust you? We don't know each other, right? We don't know each other. So it's like, especially when it comes to money, right? And finance, like that's private. We don't want everybody knowing that. Then you have scams and stuff that's out there. And so it's one, you have to be likable, all right? Two, you have to find a way for them to be able to that they can feel that they can trust you within the first 10 minutes. What do? I ask questions, right?
Okay.
Oh, when you ask questions, don't interrupt. Just listen. All you have to do is listen and then be engaged in the conversation. You can even repeat sometimes some of the things that they say, right? And from that point on, it's just it's natural from there. We get the number, we exchange. I check on them. I say, "How your family doing?" I mention the
Nice.
family by name, right? They told me the name. I might send them some gift cards or some holiday stuff for the holidays. But then when it's time to really sit down and talk, they feel like they can trust me, right? I'm not saying that I'm untrustworthy. It's definitely real, but I feel like those two things are the key factors.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely learn something there, and I feel like I've kind of known that, but it's the application of it. I need to ask more questions because I mean sometimes I have so much knowledge because I learned so much about the products. My wife said I talk too much in terms of sharing things that I'm super excited about. Um, how does this financial aspect of being in the financial industry impacted your income? What do you think is the biggest change that has happened since, like, you were a flight attendant not before, and now you have a side hustle? Tell me how that has freed you up, or you have seen some sort of advantage. Because
Yep.
people, that's what people want to know.
Definitely. Great question. First off is I haven't been to work in about 3, 4 months now at this point. And that was my goal initially, starting in. I wanted to work this job, be full time at the job, and start a side business, right? A side hustle. And then once I really understood this side business, it took off in a way to where I'm working my butt off here at the job, but I've helped two families and it has doubled more than all of my hours that I've put in at the job.
Wow.
And so that's the benefit of it, where I initially became a flight attendant because of what? The flexibility. Now I have the flexibility to get rid of all of my trips and then focus on helping people save money and make money. All right. And so that
Nice.
was I think that's the biggest focus when it comes to the impact of the income from our business, because
Right.
one, we get paid every Tuesday, every Friday. My full-time job, we get paid only on the 20th, one time a month.
Wow.
Okay. And so in 1 month, or rather one cycle here in my financial business, is already more than my entire month at my full-time job.
Wow. I had to ask you this question. So, say someone that's a flight attendant looking at this podcast. What advice would you give them if they're interested in starting a side hustle?
Yep.
What
The-
advice, the main advice would you give them? Top
I think
advice.
the biggest advice that I would give for all of the flight attendants out there is to utilize your environment, utilize your benefits that you currently have. Sometimes, especially flight attendants, sometimes we think that we have to add something else to our life. Like, I'm already doing this. I'm a parent. I'm married. I don't know if I can do this. But as a flight attendant, we're in the best position to already, like, when we're already meeting people, right? We're in a trusted position. We're already meeting people and we're traveling the world. The biggest advice is take advantage of your environment. Take advantage of your environment.
Nice. That's good advice. This is a slightly odd question. If you could go back in time and change anything to launch a side hustle, what would you do in terms of starting the financial service business? What would you, if you had to start over, like you started from scratch, what would you have done differently?
If I would have started over from scratch, I would have started when I was 18 years old.
I
Because
think
you need to be
everybody,
18 to get a license.
I mean, I started the business pretty late. I didn't even want to. So, I mean, I, I think you know that we were clients first for 6 years. My wife Yula and I, we wanted to do real estate investment. We actually paid for a financial advisor. We had like a huge report. We never really applied it. And then we met with Caitlin, and you know Caitlin
Yeah.
Kofilan. She kind of looked at, did the assessment, met with us for free, and gave us some advice, and that kind of started the process of in us putting money aside better and seeing some profits. And then we did our first rental property. We paid down on our mortgage on one house, and then there was some equity. We used that equity to put as a down payment on our house, especially when the interest rate was super low. It was like 2.7. I can't remember what year we did that. And that helped us in the process, and then just kind of repeated that again. But I think we've learned so many lessons and strategies that have really, really benefited us. So I just want to ask you just a closing question here. In terms of this is definitely heading towards your full-time career now. And I the numbers that I'm seeing here on the board for you, I know you were gonna become a millionaire at some point, and I can't say when, but you're definitely heading there. And people that probably might be drawn to this channel are interested in making some extra income and making sure that this is something that they can do. Um, what is something personal that you would share with them, like a personal call to action that you would give them? What is your personal call to action for someone here? This is
My
for
personal
anybody.
call to action is really let's start making our dreams and our goals possible. Like, seriously, like, let's come up with a plan, right? A lot of us, we think about these things all the time. Oh, I'm thinking about starting this, or I'm thinking about doing that. Like, let's really take it seriously, right? Write down your plans. Now find a way how to execute those plans. And my advice is make sure that your money is in the right place. And I'll be honest, and I want to share this on a personal note. Growing up, I saw my father. He looked like he was, all my friends thought he was rich. He had several cars. You would think he had everything. Okay, you would think he had everything. He's young, he's just living his life. But now that we're older, now that he's older, and I'm actually looking at him, and he's only living off of his Social Security. He has no retirement plan.
Wow.
And even when he talks about his near future, he becomes emotional.
Oh Lord.
He
Wow.
becomes emotional, right? And so he don't like talking about the future, right? And that's another reason why I work hard now too, as well, because I want to take care of my dad, as when he gets older,
Right.
same, with my mom. And so my mom, she worked her butt off. She was in the medical field as well, for 40 plus years, retired when she turned 60. And it at times it's still a struggle, right?
Wow.
Because sure, she has a pension, but she didn't have a big retirement, right? So the companies are not really teaching us the things that we need to do in
Yeah.
order to make more money and save more money. And so be serious about whatever it is that you want to do, but at the same time, really look into places where your money can grow on its own based off the interest that you're earning, right? Think of your future. Make sure you protect it by using the right vehicles.
All right. Thanks so much, Cedric. If you want to meet with Cedric, you could join his Calendly. It'll be in the comment section, in the pinned comment section. And also you could contact me or email any one of us if you need any more information on financial services. Our channel has a number of videos on financial planning, retirement, infinite banking. So you could always take a look at the icon and pull one of the videos. So thanks so much, and we'll see you later in the next
Hey
video.
guys, take
Bye.
care. Thank you.